Join me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my friend Amanda Marcotte. Amanda is an author, a writer, a blogger. She writes regularly for Slate, Alternate, RH Reality Check, and the Pandagon column for Raw Story, all of which you can find on her Twitter feed, which is at Amanda Marcotte. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so Amanda, there's actually been a good deal of discussion recently on the horrific problem of sexual assault on college campuses. A couple of weeks ago, the eventual winner of the Miss USA pageant, Nia Sanchez, was asked a question on sexual assault, and her answer was somewhat problematic if you look at it from a certain way. Tell us exactly what happened at the Miss USA pageant.
Well, she was asked about the issue of campus sexual assault, and she said that she was glad people were talking about it, and then she framed it as an awareness for women themselves, as if they weren't aware that sexual assault was a real danger to them. And then she brought it back to herself as her black belt in I think, taekwondo, and she emphasized self-defense as the thing that women need to learn in order to prevent rape. So she basically, said that she felt like it was a matter of she seemed to think that the discussion about campus sexual assault was about raising women's awareness that this is a thing that happens so they can learn self-defense, which is a problem on very many levels, not the least of which is like almost none of the campus sexual assaults we're talking about could have been successfully thwarted with taekwondo.
Well, maybe jujitsu. What if it was jujitsu? So that might have been a different outcome.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think it was a couple people jokingly pointed out to me that taekwondo is not even a self-defense level martial art. But even if you do know like some kind of like more aggressive martial art, it's not going to really help you. Most campus rapes the rapist is not a guy jumping out of the bushes, not a stranger, but somebody that the victim knows. Often the victim is incapacitated through alcohol or drug use. It's not something, it's just not the traditional, like, some guy jumps at you and you knock him down with a karate chop kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and it's there's not that there's anything wrong if people want to take self-defense courses, and that's not what you wrote or were saying in any way, shape, or form. But again, what it does is it puts the emphasis on the fact that, like, if someone has a weapon, probably taekwondo is not going to save you if they have a weapon anyway. But again, most sexual assaults aren't that to begin with. But again, it also the main crux of this being it puts the emphasis on the victim of the crime and not the crime. It's like, if only all you women would just learn taekwondo, we wouldn't have so much rape, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a complete misreading of the situation, which is like the focus on campus sexual assault right now isn't about raising awareness that it happened, which I think everyone was aware of. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that rape rates have been going down over the past 40 years, probably on campus and everywhere. The issue here is that there's reason to believe that campuses are not taking their Title IX duties to protect their female students' rights to a safe campus as seriously as they should. And that's, the focus of all this debate in the real world and not the Miss USA pageant is how much obligation do campuses have to suss out the sexual predators on campus and eject them from the student body. And there's, a lot of contentious debate over that.
Yeah, and also that's a lot of debate over that, but then, like, also again, I'm kind of sticking on this. It's just so insulting that the issue gets like steered this way, where like and when we're finally getting at least some mainstream talk about that. I mean, the president is talking about it. We actually have a larger conversation when it comes to college sexual assault, and then somehow the pundit class ends up getting steered to, well, this is what you need to do when confronted with this, which again, oftentimes it's someone they know, oftentimes they might be alcohol involved, and so like, or they might be drugged, all types of things. And again, it's going away from the actual taking care of actually stopping the people who are doing it in the first place, instead of putting it on the victims.
Yeah, exactly. When you start talking about the victim's self-defense and especially despite or instead of anything else, there's a tendency to talk about sexual assault as if it was a force of nature, like the tornado's coming, you need to get in the basement, which is it doesn't, I think a lot of people don't initially see what's so wrong with that, but maybe if you think about it, the issue, it's a way of not talking about holding rapists accountable, because if we could actually do something to stop tornadoes, like that would actually be the smarter thing to do than just expect people to sit in the basement, right? We actually can do something about sexual predators. Like we can hold them accountable. We can police their behavior. They are not nature. They are people that are making decisions, and that decision making process that they are engaging in can be dealt with. I do think, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that if men are made to believe that they will face legal and social consequences for sexual assault, they are much less likely to make the choice to sexually assault. Now, to be clear, most men are not rapists. But those who have that desire, I think...
hold on a second. Amanda, not all men are rapists. Just wanted to interject that in here. So just had to make sure that point was clear, that not all men are rapists.
I almost feel guilty pointing that caveat out, but nobody, no one is saying, no one has ever been saying that. But I think we do need to understand that those that are not, they're people. They're not just monsters. They're bad people, but they are people that are thoughtful about things like, do I want to go to jail? No.
They have their own self-preservation in mind. It's a libertarian selfishness Ayn Rand type of thing, but it does steer their actions most likely.
Yeah, and then you also think that you have to think about it too on a social level. Like if you know somebody is a sexual predator, like why are you not ejecting them from populations where they have prey?
Yeah. Well, that's the idea that we can't change the culture around this is really, really insulting. That we can't shift the emphasis. That we can't, and even more so, just not even shifting the emphasis to the assaulters, the people who actually are responsible for all this crap, but also that we can't change rape culture that surrounds it and the coddling of the predators, and that we can't treat the victims better as a society, and that we can't beat rape culture as something that's really insulting. And really, if someone who wants to think that people are generally good, that we can't make that shift is really, really, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think that I don't think, I think sometimes people get a little confused because you often hear like the truism that we should teach men not to rape. And I think understandably that causes a lot of people to go, grr, you think they're raping on accident? Which they're not doing. They're not raping anyone on accident. I want to be very clear about this. But what you do teach that no means no and only yes means yes and all these other things, I think you create a culture of intolerance for sexually predatory behavior. Right now, I think there are a lot of guys who wouldn't actually assault anyone, but they see predatory behaviors going on with their friends or their acquaintances, and they are not standing up to those behaviors because they have become normalized in this way that you may not even notice it. Jokes about, you're going to get somebody so drunk she can't say no, that kind of thing. And if you see that for what it is, I think it becomes harder for sexual assailants to operate because they're going to come up against people being like, dude, that's not cool,